I'm Stacey.
And I'm Lois.
And this is Whose Girl Are You? Today we're going to attempt to talk about our feelings and how they play a part in our Christian walk. Should they play a part? What part do they play? All of those kind of things. We'll get to the bottom of all the questions of life.
All the emotions.
I say because I'm still learning to feel things.
Yeah. Well, and it's the very definition of feelings, brings up feelings. And you're like,
sure
about that, because vulnerability? Generally?
Yeah, partly vulnerability, sure, but also learned behavior.
Yeah.
Weird thoughts on maybe certain feelings are weakness.
Right. Which is vulnerability.
Which is, I guess the overarching would be vulnerability. Also just a lack of language.
Yeah. Yeah. To know what you're actually trying to say or trying to feel. I just don't like when some sort of feeling takes over or comes upon me and I don't have the language to express what it is or even the language internally to understand what the heck is going on. Mm-hmm. All I know is there's certain feelings that come over me or on me. I don't know where they come from. So do they come from out or they come from within, right? That's the kind of the language I'm using right now. I think maybe sometimes feelings come from deep within you and sometimes feelings come from someone. If they're coming upon you, maybe they're coming from somebody else. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? So they're coming externally. Right.
And I don't know if that makes a difference, but I feel like it does.
Yeah. We learned something 100 years ago when we went to a marriage encounter weekend. And it was really profound to me. One of the first things they taught us is feelings are neither right nor wrong. They just are.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. And also that can be used so negatively too, because I once knew this lawyer and he said, if you ever want to win an argument, just argue your feelings because nobody can argue with them.
Yes. And that's what we're talking about today, right?
Yeah. No one can say your feelings are right or wrong. You want to win an argument. Don't base it on facts and things. Just argue your feelings. Yeah. And I'm not recommending that.
No.
Although it's important to be said, though, if you think about it, because if someone comes to you and is talking about their feelings about a particular topic or situation, mm-hmm. you don't necessarily want to automatically go and try to change their situation or fix it. This is why certain personalities can clash really badly because one is the fixer and one is the just expresser. Right. So they express, and when the other one comes to fix, they get really upset because why? Because their feelings aren't being validated. They feel like you're not hearing my feelings. You're not mm-hmm. hearing how I feel about this thing. You're just ignoring what I'm saying and you're trying to fix it. It's almost like you're not engaging. So mm-hmm. you hear, you have to validate people's feelings. How do you validate people's feelings?
Mm-hmm. If there's a problem, without either stepping in to fix it or giving advice, unasked for advice, maybe.
Yeah, I'm bad at that.
I am too.
I try to be better about not giving advice when it's not asked for, but sometimes I'm just not watching myself. I'm not guarding mm-hmm. my mouth very well. And someone comes in It's usually if someone comes in complaining to me.
Mm-hmm. Because doesn't that feel like it's an open door for must want my advice because you're telling me about this.
Well, and I don't know if I necessarily think that. All I think is I want them to shut up already about it. I don't want to hear someone just complain. Now, if you want to come and complain about something, by all means, whatever, it's fine. I'm talking about the person who complains about the same things over and over and over and over and over to me. Right. And I grew up with a saying, and I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but it's poop or get off the pot. And we did not say it that way. We said it a little bit more crassly, but I grew up with figure it out or shut your mouth.
Yeah.
You don't just incessantly just complain about something.
Yeah. Let this thing just dominate your life for weeks, months, years.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you days. I might even give you weeks, but that's about my limit. Like if we're hitting a month, go talk to somebody else. Like if you don't want to know what I think about it, quit talking to me about it, because I can listen at first and just say, oh man, that's hard. That sucks. That must be difficult. I can't imagine, all the things, because a lot of times you can't. Everyone has their situations that are particular to them. Then the next time they come with the same thing, it's like, well, do you want, are you asking for advice on this, on what, like, possible things you can do about it? No, I'm just here to complain. I just need to vent. That whole thing, I feel like I was taught, oh, it's totally okay to vent. As long as you're just like venting to your friends and people you trust, like women need to vent. No, we don't. No, we don't. That's so destructive, and that is such a lie. Now, have a couple close friends and be able to really be honest with them about some stuff that's hard to admit. Sure. But just to go on and on and on about how you're feeling, which here we go. Let's look, like, this is the path we're going down now. Just because I feel irritated about a certain person, does that give me the right to go to my friend and just about that person? And you know that person also kind of doesn't like that person. So they can come back and I absolutely agree with you. Oh, how annoying. I can't believe they said that, did that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know, right? How dare they? And it's like, oh, we're just venting. Yeah. It's a danger zone. Yeah, it is. It's just a danger zone. I've found myself going too far down that. And then what? You run into that person that you were both talking about. Now, how do you feel? How do you feel facing that person when they look you in the eye or they come in for a hug?
Usually you just smile and say, hey, it's good to see you, or whatever. Like, just put on a complete fake front.
I am a bad faker.
But that's how most people would respond, especially if this is someone who's, I guess I'm assuming that this is someone who is kind of a friend, like, at least somebody that you know.
Right.
It's someone that you should be friendly with.
Yeah.
So the next time you see them, you might feel terrible inside, but you're going to be friendly with them.
Sure, you'll be friendly. And then what? Like, so I actually I have a hard time faking it, right? So if I've talked about somebody and then I see that person, like, I try to avoid. Yeah. Avoidance is my tactic. Yeah. Running and avoiding.
Yeah. Mine too.
You know why? Because it works for a while.
Right.
We're no dummies.
Yeah. And we avoid the feelings, because the feelings at that point are guilt.
Sure.
And shame.
Of course. Because why? Because venting's not okay. Because you've just been talking bad about someone, especially if there's someone else that's in the kingdom of God, another fellow believer. Yeah. The Lord talks about this all the time in the scriptures. Yeah. Like, how dare you? I don't have any scriptures. I'm just the worst. I just paraphrase and say it's in there somewhere. Yeah. But the feeling I get about it, when I've read the scriptures, it's more like when you are talking bad about someone else that's in the kingdom of God, like you're talking, like we're all members of a body. Yeah. You're talking bad about your own family. You're talking bad about your own self. We're all members of the same body. Right. And like, as if we're such good people, right? Like we're so great. We never are annoying to people. We never say the wrong thing. Of course we do. Yeah. And so, like, do we want grace extended to us? Yes. So if we're venting and complaining about someone, are we extending grace to them? Right. No. Right. Exactly. We're not. And I'm not saying this. I'm not sitting in a seat of where I'm saying I don't ever do this. Of course I do. But when you finally realize, oh my gosh, because sometimes the moment catches you, right? I don't know. You're really pushed to an edge and all of a sudden your best friend walks in. You're like, shut the door. We need to talk. Like I don't want to explode at someone else. I want to like talk to somebody, but now it's the heart that you're coming in with, right? So like in that situation, if I'm coming in with a heart of, I'm really struggling with this, Like, would you pray with me? Or I'm really struggling with this. Do you have any idea how I can handle it? Or do you know, like, you're closer to her. Do you know if she's been going through something? Like, and maybe that's just spilling out onto me somehow. Or, you know, did I do something wrong? And you're actually talking through trying to come up with a solution or maybe a reason or how to handle it. Now that's different. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You're not just spewing.
You're not just sitting in a place of arrogance saying like, I'm so great and this person's just so bleh.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
It's, we have a problem. You know, it goes back to that like appropriate conflict resolution.
I know. That's what I was just going to say.
It goes right back to it. So if you're venting and just talking bad about someone, you should have guilt about that. And then what do? You should go to your brother or sister and say, hey, I need to ask for your forgiveness. I was talking bad about you, or I was harboring some bitterness about after that thing that happened or whatever. Would you forgive me? You know, clear the air. It's hard to do because going back to feelings, no one feels like doing that.
No, because that's really vulnerable.
Yeah. It's hard to admit when you're wrong. We try teaching kids this from when they're really little. Say you're sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And acknowledge your part in it, your guilt in it.
Yeah.
Or your wrongdoing in it.
It's a hard issue. I just recently talked to somebody and they had kind of a run-in that they weren't proud of how they reacted to somebody. And they said about this other person, they said, well, I'm not like them. I don't have a bad heart. Although they reacted identical to that person. They both were yelling, screaming, just having kind of an altercation. And right out of my mouth, because I don't have a filter sometimes, and I still believe that this to be true, I said, what makes you think you don't have a bad heart? I said, from the heart, the mouth speaks. And this person said, I know I'm trying to get a hold of, I've been trying to get a hold of my anger, trying to figure out how to not be that angry person and how to be more, have more self-control and things like this. To which I was like, you know, this goes back to first things first, second things second. First things first is seek the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you, right? Like we're running after him and he'll deal with all that. Self-control is a fruit of the spirit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, anger is a feeling, but anger is a symptom of a feeling. Anger isn't, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a symptom of another problem.
It's a symptom of a deeper problem of the heart.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And as this person and I talked about it, it was kind of interesting because I'm saying, you know, I challenge you on that because from the heart, the mouth speaks. And the person says, well, okay. I mean, I said, what makes you react that way? And she says, well, my pride. I have a lot of pride. And I said, boom, you just self-diagnosed yourself. And she took a step back and got really quiet. And, you know, in the end, I was like, I'm really sorry if I like because although it's all truth and although I do believe what I said, and I am coming from a place of, I do really love this person and I want the best for them and I want them to live a life where anger doesn't control them and they have self-control and all of this stuff. So that's the only reason I was speaking truth in love. And she's a fellow believer as well. And so, you know, it was really, we also have similar personalities, like where we both are just really blunt so she can handle it. I did make sure as I walked out, you didn't feel like I was attacking you, did you? Because that's not where I was coming from. She said, nope, not at all. And she was totally cool with it. Hopefully she really was cool with it. She's not just a better faker than me. Yeah. I pray she is cool with it because that's the kind of truth that we need, that I need, right? Right. I have been put in my place before. A loose tongue is my problem. I have struggled with that. And it's it's a self-control issue. And you know what? I would say just like my friend that I was talking about, it's a pride issue. Yeah. Yeah. Because in some way, I feel like I'm superior to whoever I'm talking about. That's gross, right? Yeah, it is. Just gross.
Yeah, it is. But to go back to something that you said, where you said, if you want to win an argument, just, you got to throw feelings in there. You know, these are my feelings. We give, in our day and age, we give feelings a place of authority. That's it. There's nothing else if someone drops but this is just how I feel, you've lost the argument. No reason, no mind, not even the word of God can stand against cultural feelings.
Well, cultural, that's the key word.
Right, right.
I mean, if you're in the church though, and you call yourself a believer and you say that the Bible is the authority.
Right.
Well, the Bible says things like, your heart is deceitful.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can't go off of your feelings.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read a book once. I don't remember what it's called. It was a picture of a lady stuffing her head in her purse and screaming, like bent halfway over, screaming into her purse. Unhinged or something like that. It wasn't Unhinged. I don't remember what the name of it was, but I do remember this one quote from the book. It said, feelings are indicators, not dictators. So feelings will indicate that there's something going on. It's like our dashboard idiot lights. Something's going on in here. The car's still running.
Engine.
You're still going down the road. You know, it might be minor. It might just be windshield wiper fluid, but it might be major. It might be the engine light. So, you know, some feelings that we have, I think, are similar to that, right? Some are really major feelings. Warning, warning, warning. Your marriage is in trouble. Yeah. Or little indicators of like, hey, your heart is just going a little astray.
Yeah. You know, or something as simple as you didn't get enough sleep last night. Like you need to, you know, or food. It's time for food. You're a little hangry.
That, sleep, water and food, you know, feed them, give them a drink and put them to bed. Yeah. That doesn't just apply to toddlers.
No, exactly.
It applies to humans.
Yes.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons that so many young marriages feel like they're struggling when they have little kids is not so much anything more than a lack of sleep.
Yeah.
When you have little kids, most people with little kids, they're not sleeping through the night.
Right.
Consistently.
Right. Exactly. Or maybe ever.
Mine didn't. I can say I went over a year without a single night of sleep where I slept like solidly for more than 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I do not know how I survived that.
That's exhausting.
It's where all these wrinkles came from, I think. But, yeah, so you're right. Like, I think primarily, like, if you feel like you're spinning out of control, like with your feelings, definitely make sure you don't need a drink of water. You need something to eat, or maybe you just need a nap. If a problem seems big, I sleep on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it says his mercies are new every morning. I'm thinking clearer in the morning about how to handle it. It might even be, wow, that was a non-issue. It's actually just an internal problem with my own heart that I needed to go to God with. What do you think, now that I'm saying that, what do you think about people say, don't let the sun go down on your anger, like never go to bed with your spouse if you're arguing, like solve the argument before you go to sleep? Do you believe that? I don't.
Well, wait, I was just asserting that I understood the question.
Oh.
I do actually believe that.
Yeah.
In a certain sense. If you've talked it through and you're at loggerheads and it can't be solved right this minute, like it's a bigger thing than something, maybe in the category of this is going to affect us in 5 years. Not, this is going to affect us this evening, then sleep on it. But you have to like initiate that. We have a problem and we need to talk about it. But right now it's not a good, either we need to give it time to think and pray about it, or we need to have more time because we're leaving in 1 hour for, you know, something that we can't avoid. But let's put it on the shelf and then let's pick it up again. We're not just forgetting that this happened.
Yeah.
But if it's a minor thing, not going to affect us 5 years down the road, then it feels like, yeah, don't just let that, just solve it. It's not that big a deal.
I mean, keep a short account with anybody, with everybody, right? Try to keep a short account so that you don't have to try to unpack years worth of stuff down the road. 'Cause that's not fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that when people say, oh yeah, don't go to bed angry. You just stay up until you get to the bottom of it, make up whatever, and don't ever let the sun set on your anger. And I was like, I don't know exactly what that means, but I don't think it means that, because if it meant that, I would have gone like, at some periods in our marriage, we would have gone months without sleeping.
Right. Because
we couldn't or wouldn't, or one of us or both of us just wouldn't come to a place of giving the other one an inch, right?
Yeah.
We were, like you said, we were at a loggerhead. So yeah. And then lack of sleep doesn't do anything. Also anger, I have been a person that's why I was speaking to this other person about it, because I come from a place where I had a lot of anger issues. Mm-hmm. Like rage. Like I know what it means when people say, seeing red. I would open a door, slam it, open it again, slam it again harder, that kind of thing. So I know what that rage feels like.
Yeah.
I still now will have that come up in me. That hasn't gone away. But what has happened now is, by the grace of God and the work of the Holy Spirit in my life, I have self-control, which is it's a fruit that's grown through my walk, not something that I did, right? Yeah. Because you can't grow fruit. You can't force fruit to grow. That's something that God does in your life as you trust and obey and walk this thing out. And so now when I feel the rage coming up in me, I don't give it free reign of my life.
Right.
And let it just come out however it pleases, because that's so destructive.
Yeah.
For me and for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you can't take back things you say.
I think that's the part that a person who's in a rage doesn't recognize at that moment. And maybe it's something that they need to be made aware of when they're not angry. That this is destructive for you, not only for the people around you. It's awful for the people around you, but there's a rot going on in your soul.
Yep.
At that point that you don't recognize.
Yeah, no, it's bad. And then you end up with all the guilt, and then you have to deal with all that, and then you have residual anger because you're angry at yourself because you have no control over it. It's just this spiral. It's not good. There's just what good comes from it? Name one good thing that comes from someone that has anger, letting their rage just have free reign. Like I have never seen one thing good come from it for that person, or for, in the moment they might be able to scare someone into doing something that they want, but in the end,
no. They've lost the war.
They've lost the war. They won the battle. Yeah, they'll win the battle, but because people are afraid of them.
Yeah. So I looked up that verse that you quoted. It's in Ephesians 4, and it's in a section where it's talking about our new life, right? Our new life in Christ. Don't walk in like the futility of the mind that is not subject to Christ. It's like being renewed in your mind. Put on the new self. And so then it says, this is like so perfect for our conversation about anger. It says in verse 25, I'll start there. Therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be angry and do not sin. Mm-hmm. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and give no opportunity to the devil. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's part of the key of letting the sun go down on your anger can be an opportunity for the devil if you don't pick it back up and deal with it. Like it's just building, and you just put another tally mark in the column of this person offended me, or this person is just a jerk.
Well, yeah, of course, right? Because so you feel that way, and then you're just so angry, you can't deal with it. You go to bed. The next morning you wake up, and you're like, don't even care about it right now. Yeah. But then the next time you see them, it rises up in you.
Yeah.
And then you also you keep sweeping under the carpet.
Yeah. And you know what? You got a lump of garbage under the carpet you need to take care of.
It can be bad. And then it gets harder, right? Because then you can't even remember what the root problem was, right? Like what started this in the first place?
Right.
It's like the Hatfield and McCoys. Like why are they killing each other? Like we don't even know what started this
Right.
Duel.
Yeah.
Duel? No, what was
Feud.
it? Like feud. That's the word. We don't even know what started this feud, but by all means, we're going to carry it on for generations, you know? So that's kind of the thing that we risk. And then it's just destructive.
Yeah.
But anger is the easy one to talk about because it's the symptom.
Yeah.
I think it's the symptom of a baser emotion. It usually, that anger comes from, well, like in the book of James, it says, why do you fight and quarrel? Because you don't get your own way.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to, in the kingdom, it says that we think of others more highly than ourselves, that we put others above ourselves, that we humble ourselves, you know, that we go low so that he can be lifted high, all these things. Well, when we get that backwards, I think is when a lot of this stuff happens. Although it can be hard, right? Like if you're humbling yourself and you're putting others before you and you're thinking of others and then like those others like turn around and try to bite you. Yeah. That's hard. That's hard within the church.
Right. Right.
Because the only way that it really works out so beautifully is when everybody does this.
Yes. Yes.
It's hard
has to be. Yeah. Mutual service.
Yeah. It's a mutual thing. So, and it's a beautiful thing when it works. And I have seen it work. I mean, I see it live and active in my church, this humility and this love for one another and all of this. But there's always going to be those among us that just aren't, and they'll take what they can get and they don't give back and they bite and complain about the ones who are giving of themselves, and it can be really hard in those moments. And so how do you deal with that? And that's my segue to say, I believe that there are situations of when you have these feelings. It's usually about other people, right? Because people are the things that cause feelings, mostly. Well, we can go into physical pain and chronic illness and things like that. That can also really affect you. But let's just talk about people for this portion or whatever. I think there are situations where you're not really in relationship with these people, but maybe you're in church with them, but you're not. You can't be in a relationship with 500 people. Yeah. So there's going to be people among you maybe that you might have certain feelings about, but you're going to go to God with these ones. You're going to just go straight to God with these. And perfect world, that's what we do with all of them every time. First and foremost, it's seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. All these things will be added unto you. I quote this to myself all the time because I can have a problem of not going to him first, not seeking him first, seeking the other things and then it not working out and being like, oh yeah, that's right.
Why is that a last resort, right?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. You know, or when you hear yourself saying language like, well, I guess all we can do is pray. It's like, what do you mean all we can do is pray?
Yeah. The God of the universe who spoke creation into existence, carefully formed you.
Yeah. Says you can literally just walk right into the throne room now.
Is your father. Yes.
Like the veil's been torn. You can walk right in. Yeah. Walk right in. Tell me whatever you want to tell me. And like, let him, the one that created you, heal your heart, process through your emotions, all of these
your
things.
Feelings. Absolutely.
He says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
Yeah.
So we go to him and that's the prompt. And that's the thing that I'm trying to make a habit of my life is I have these emotions about someone really is kind of biting or manipulative or something like that, to see it for what it is. There's a couple of things I tell myself. I tell myself also, we do not fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So, because I'm like, I don't want to attack the person back. So I'm just like, I just kind of go, oh, okay. And keep going. And then if I'm ruminating at all, like I have to go to God with that. So, and he always is faithful on, you know, taking it and then also helping me see my part in it, right? Like helping me see like, why did it affect me so much when they said that? Oh, cause, you know, I'm human and I still deal with a little bit of pride and it might have like nicked my pride a little bit when they said that because it's implying that.
Yeah. I didn't do enough or
you know.
Yep.
But what do you think about feelings? And I hear a lot about women saying that their hormones are affecting them so much, almost like a get out of jail free card. It's my hormones.
Like PMS or something. Yeah.
What do you think of that? Oh. Are they allowed to be a little bit moodier?
Boy, see, I do not, to my knowledge, maybe you'd have to ask my family, but I don't deal with that. I don't have that.
Yeah. You seem pretty even keel.
PMS is not a thing for me. It never has been. But you know what? I also don't have physical symptoms, which can affect the emotional symptoms. I'm not in a lot of pain, so does that make a difference? I'm sure it does.
Yeah. You had it easy. What in the world?
I did. I had it very easy.
They actually say that if your hormones are balanced, it's more natural and normal to not have symptoms. If you're having super bad PMS symptoms, that it's an indicator of something deeper going on. That
Really?
Yeah. You might be deficient in this or that, or you might be too high in that, or you might be, I don't know. I don't know how to get to the bottom of it either.
Yeah.
Go see a natural doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they say that you're not supposed to have bad PMS symptoms. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So I have a really hard time, and I have been guilty of being very judgmental of that.
Because you haven't experienced it.
Because I haven't experienced it. So it's like, get a grip. Like, I don't care how bad it is. You don't have to be a jerk.
Well, I believe that with everything.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're grieving deeply.
Yes.
It doesn't give you the right to treat people poorly.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in a lot of pain. It doesn't give you the right to treat people poorly.
Yeah.
That's not what God calls us to.
Right.
Right? It's just not. And I'm sorry if you're having these problems. I've had chronic illness. I know what pain feels like. I know what having a headache for months on end without it going away feels like.
Yeah.
But as adults, now kids are different. They're still learning. They're still learning and growing and trying to figure out how to have self-control. And
yeah.
I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about adults.
Mm-hmm.
We're responsible for what we do and what we say.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
No play on words there.
Right.
But yeah, so I think instead we have to be vulnerable and say, if we feel like we're struggling, feel like we're ready to snap, we feel like, cause those feelings are real. Those PMS feelings are real. Just try to put words to it. Like, I'm feeling really, really bad right now. Is there any way we can pick up this conversation later? Or whatever it may be. Just try to just say, admit that you're not feeling well and ask for some grace and try to be kind. I don't know what else to say about that really. Yeah.
And I think I really admire people who can just like bring the pressure level down a little bit with their words.
Yeah.
In a very gracious way to make it like acknowledge the other person's maybe complaint or whatever, but to graciously say, I can't do this right now. It's not you, it's me. I'm not feeling physically or emotionally or whatever. Maybe it's a time constraint. I'm not able to do this right now, but I care about you and I want to bring it up, or, let's talk about it. Let's get coffee in 2 days,
Yeah. So there's two sides of it. If you're the one that's dealing with it that's kind of my advice, but I know it's not always a perfect world. And sometimes you do struggle with having control over it. There could be a perfect storm. Yeah. Maybe you're having PMS symptoms and it's throwing a migraine on you and you're grieving the death of your mom and your kid's screaming and pulling at your leg. I mean, I don't expect you to calmly and effectively, verbalize your feelings. I get that life is just sometimes just not fun. So on the other side of it, when we see other people, like, be mindful about extending grace to them as well. And
right. And
asking them, are you okay?
I was just going to say, even more, like, be mindful to do what you can to help in that situation. Maybe you can step up and say, hey, toddler, let's go find a book.
Exactly.
And give mommy a second. Yeah. She has a lot she's dealing with right now.
Get mom a water and an Advil. Take the kid, for a few minutes or whatever. Let her go to the bathroom, whatever. Yeah. So all of that too. Like, we need to be mindful that other people sometimes when people are acting badly, if it's not in their character, there's something going on, and how can we help? And sometimes they're not ready to share with us what's going on. But anyway, taking our feelings to the Lord is always, like, you just can't go wrong on that one. Yeah. You just can't go wrong on that one. Absolutely. Even for those that are just falling apart as they're listening to this, just falling apart. I just say, get on your knees and cry out to him, and he'll meet you where you're at. He says he will.
He's okay. So that's another thing then in feelings.
He created all the feelings, and yeah.
But we feel like he's far from us and that he's not hearing us or whatever, when the scripture says that he is right here. His spirit is within you.
Yeah.
So he's not distant. He's not far away. Yes, pour out your feelings to him, but it's not like you have to shout across a long chasm.
No, when I say cry out to him, I more mean like you're putting your head on his lap and you're crying.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because he's right here. Yeah. He's not distant.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, curl up in the fetal position on your couch or your bed and cover your head in your blankets, and he's right there. He's with you, and he sees what's going on, and yeah. And so you're right about, like, feelings aren't wrong. Like, whatever your feelings are, those are your feelings, and you need to ask yourself, why am I feeling this thing? But it's the way that we react in our feelings. Yeah. That's where you go wrong or right or whatever. Like, it's in the acting out of things, because feelings will cause reaction a lot of times. So feelings in and of themselves are they're indicating something's going on.
And the other thing about him being there with you is he's suffering with you.
He's interceding for you to the Father.
Yes, he's interceding for you to the Father, but he knows your feelings. He understands.
Yeah.
Because Jesus became human. The incarnate God knows what it's like to be a human.
Oh yeah, he was fully human.
Right. And so then he understands.
Sure.
Your temptations to anger, to frustration, to whatever. And he's there with you in it.
And isn't that what we want?
He's not above that. Like, we don't have this God who, the scripture says we don't have a God who can't be touched with the feelings that grip us, with the feelings that grip this sinful flesh, this broken nature, the natural things of my life that, come up against me. He knows and he understands.
And I think that's what all of us are looking for, is we just want someone that understands. That's always what we're looking for when we're doing the connection and the whose girl are you and where are you from and the different things. We're looking for people that connect, that know, that have shared experiences, that understand where we're coming from, that can really grasp it. But the fact of the matter is, although we try, there's never going to be anybody ever that's going to have the exact same shared experiences as you. I don't care if you're a twin.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the same exact shared experiences that someone's going to fully understand you.
Yeah.
There's going to be some that understand better than others and appreciate your quirks and personality things that, like, get you.
And there's still a commonality in all of humanity. But obviously, like, other believers are going to understand more as a Christian what those feelings are. Maybe you're struggling with your faith and you're doubting, like, God doesn't feel near. He feels far. Like, why has he abandoned me?
Oh, David said that in the Psalms.
I know. And he hasn't.
No, he doesn't go anywhere. We do.
No. But he goes with us. We go places, but he goes with us.
I get that, but there's times in life where you're living a life, you're doing certain things, and you're like the sinner in the garden hiding behind the tree. And so, like, when you're hiding, it's really hard to see the person you're hiding from.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying he goes anywhere. He's still right there.
Yeah, exactly. And he's saying, Adam, where are you?
Like he doesn't know.
Like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he does.
So when is it appropriate to, actually, no, this is what I was going to say. It's hard for me to hold my train of thought. I try so hard. Here's my challenge in life. I try so hard not to cut people off when they're talking, but sometimes I have something so relevant to say that I have to cut them off, because if I wait 4 seconds, I'll forget what the super relevant thing was that I was going to say.
I know.
And the struggle is real. I don't know how to overcome this problem of not cutting people off, but also remembering what I need to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, help me.
Yeah.
What about feelings? Oh, I know. I used to look at feelings like they were something for me to conquer.
Oh. So you just didn't have them anymore, you mean? Like you conquer it so you don't have to feel it?
Well, so, anger was a main thing, and I wanted, just like this other person I was talking to, I wanted control over this anger. I didn't want it to be controlling me. Mm-hmm. Not realizing that over time of walking with the Lord, like I said, and trusting, obeying, like the fruit grew. And now I've developed the fruit of self-control. God grew that in me, right? Not by my own workings. I don't really understand. I don't fully understand how that all works and happens. I just know that fruit is from God. It's not of me. But that I still do certain things.
Yeah. But you know what? When you're abiding in the vine.
Yeah. Fruit will grow.
It's an apple tree doesn't have to figure out how it grows apples. It can't help but grow apples. It can't help it.
Right.
It's what it was created to do.
Right. So I thought there was good feelings and bad feelings, and any of the bad feelings, like anger, I would just think, well, if I figure out, if I start feeling this certain way, if I can tell myself this certain thing, or if I can do this certain thing, then I'll have control over it, not realizing that years went by, I never had control. I'd have some control over it. There are certain little life hacks you can do, but
yeah, count to 10 or
deep breathing, walk away, drink cold water. All these things I tried, and it never was true freedom. I do believe I have freedom over it now. The last time I felt anger rise in me, that rage, was last summer. It's been I'll go now a year in between these feelings. Where it used to be, it was so regularly. It was daily before. And so now I can see progress. But the thing is I know now that it's not I'm going to be oh, I figured out how to have control over my anger. Now, therefore I won't have anger. That's not true. I'm still going to have anger, still going to rise up in me. It's just I'm actually just the fruit of the spirit is growing. And so now I have self-control. I don't know. And so crying too, I don't like crying. And so that whole sorrow, it's just I wanted to go to the grief share classes and learn the material and do the hard work. And I figured if I did all of these right things and I put in the work, in air quotes here, if I put in the work, I could get through this thing a lot faster, and then I could be done with that, and then I could move on with my life, and then I wouldn't have to cry about that anymore. Okay, in some respects it helped. There's a process that you must naturally go through when you're grieving. And the grief, although it's different now than it was a year ago, something can still affect me and cause me to experience a wave of grief and cry, which is very upsetting to me, because I really do like the model of here's the problem, do the hard work, get to the solution, move on. That's just how I like to live my life.
Yeah. Very logical, step by step.
Yeah. And emotions aren't like that. And so for people, so there's two different kinds of people out there, right? Some that live from their heart and their emotions, and some that live from their head and their logic. I live from my head and my logic. So I think that is why feelings and emotions are more difficult for me to be okay with. I think there's others out there. Are you more of a brain logic?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that we can't talk to the different side of it, really.
I know. We need to get somebody here who's.
Oh, and I know plenty of people that live out of that space.
Yeah.
And I love that they do. One isn't better or worse than the other.
Right.
We need all of this. But they have a way of just kind of beautifully kind of accepting the things as they come. Like, they feel sad about something. They're just going to sit in that sadness and cry and express it. And I start feeling that. And I am like, now would probably be a great time to just like reorganize the kitchen or like do something like really busy and systematic that can help me to ignore these feelings and hope that they pass instead of I'm going to sit in this. Like, I don't want to sit in this.
Yeah.
And I'm super curious. Now I'm going to have to ask some of my friends that live out of their heart space more. Do they enjoy sitting in it?
Right.
I'm really curious now. Do they like sitting in it?
Yeah.
I mean, we all like sitting in peace and relaxation and joy and
the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, is the anger, is the grief, is the sadness, are those bad? Like, are we wrong in saying that these ones are bad and these ones are good? Like, are the emotions just more intense for the negative ones? And so they just, I don't know.
So here's something then with the negative ones. Let's take grief, for example. The reason we grieve is because we have had great love.
Yeah.
You don't grieve someone you don't care about.
No, people die all the time. You don't even give it a thought.
Yeah, exactly. But our grief is because this person was dear to us.
Yeah.
And instead of acknowledging that dearness and rejoicing in the relationship that we have had, we're grieving the loss. And I'm not saying that we should rejoice in grief, like, yay, we're grieving. That must mean we have great love for this person, because it's tearing. It's like that ripping apart that is painful, and you have to process it. You have to deal with it. Those feelings, you have to deal with those feelings, even though you'd rather like go organize the kitchen.
You know, just being super practical, how do you deal with them?
Yeah.
You know, people say like, you have to deal with your feelings. You have to process through your emotions. And they say all these things. And it's like, how?
Yeah.
How? Tell me how. Cause I want those step by step.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where I come, like, these platitudes sometimes like drive me bananas.
Yeah.
And they're true. And I'm not saying they're not. Like, absolutely. Yeah. That's all this, it's absolutely true what you just said.
Yeah.
But it's just like, how do you manage to do that? And I am thinking at this point in my life that the way that you do it is you have to sit in it.
Yeah. And acknowledge it.
You know, like, it's so hard. One of the hardest. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to cry. Stuff it down. Just kidding. But one of the hardest things you have to do, I think, because life doesn't stop.
No.
I mean, it stops for like a week.
Yeah. If
you're lucky. You know, while you're planning the funeral and going to the services and it's back to work on Monday type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, they were a lot more grace for me working at a church, of course.
Yeah.
And they were very sensitive to what I was going through, which I really appreciate. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes, like, you just have a bad day. Like, you're just sad and you can't, there's no reason. It's just like, you know that, like, your mom died. And there's times where it's like, oh my gosh, I want her. I was so upset after my grandkid was born. That shocked me so much that, like, because I was so sad in that moment that my mom couldn't be there. Like, there's certain, like, big moments where it's really obvious, like, I know why I'm sad. I know I'm sad because my mom would have loved this and I would have loved watching her love this. And I don't get to have that. And so I'm going to cry about it.
Yeah.
But then there's other days where you're just sad. You just feel so melancholy. You just feel like there's a black cloud over you. Everyone else is going about their lives. And it's like, you're in this. You might as well just have muffled headphones on with white noise. And you're just walking through and there's just, it's almost a lack of feeling.
You're removed from.
Yeah. You can't connect.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can't connect or you don't want to connect. And it's those moments that are hard to sit in. And I think what you say to yourself in those moments is, this isn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
This is how I feel. And the hard thing is to try to articulate that to someone and just say, I'm having a bad day. I've had some of these since my mom died. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to go into, I feel like this and I feel like that, and all these expressions, but people don't know. And so if they know, they can be more sensitive to you about it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what I was getting to about, even if you're feeling other ways, if you can somehow articulate a little bit, like, I'm having a hard day because I'm having some physical symptoms of whatever. People are like, oh, everyone, if you've lived long enough, you've had some kind of physical pain. You know what pain feels like, or a headache feels like, or something. Yeah. So we can be nice to each other. Some haven't felt the loss of a loved one yet, and they will. Yeah. But it's sitting in that. So is that what it means? I'm starting to think that's what it means when they say, you know, you have to process your emotions. You have to.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It causes another feeling of frustration because you're like, how long will this last?
Yeah.
I'm a timeline guy. Like, I want to know how long this will last. Mm-hmm.
And there is no answer.
Did you know when I was having my first baby? No, it wasn't my first baby. It was my last baby. I said, I want drugs now. And she said, you don't need drugs. And I was like, I looked at her like, who are you? You know? Mm-hmm. She said, no, I think you're doing really good. I don't think you need drugs. And I said, well, is this going to be over in like when? Like an hour? Less than an hour? Hour tops? Yeah. And she just stared at me because she knew she had no answer. She couldn't be like, yep, you'll definitely have this kid in an hour, or no, you won't. Yeah. She just stared at me. And I said, fine. And I didn't take the drugs. Yeah. And he was born 45 minutes later.
Yeah.
And I was glad that I listened to her.
Yeah. And the feeling after that, I've done both ways. And the feeling after of having a baby with no drugs is much better than the feeling if you've had the drugs.
Yeah, I was allowed to get out of bed and stuff right away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just pop up and go do your thing, you know?
It was actually really weird.
Yeah.
Because I had drugs with my other two, so it was really strange to just, like, it's like the minute the kid's out,
yeah,
you're just like, I'm normal again. Not really, but I mean, I've never been normal, let's be honest. I don't know what normal means.
Yeah. So setting on your dryer, right?
I don't know. Anyway, that's feelings for you. I don't know that we covered that much. And I think all I clarified is the fact that I don't really understand feelings.
I know. I don't think anybody does, because they're so individualistic and everybody has a different response to them. Some people, want to feel all the feelings.
Yeah.
It seems like they thrive on it. And some people just avoid and avoid and avoid.
I hated negative feelings so much. That's why I became a little bit of a drunk for a while, because it would numb them for me. It was like fake happiness in a bottle temporarily that then caused more destruction in the future. But you were always just borrowing from the future. Yeah. I don't know. It was a weird thing.
Well, it's like living on credit.
Yeah, exactly. So don't do that. And I'll never forget being told, if you try to drink or use drugs to dull those emotions that you don't like, you're also going to dull the ones that you do like. And so now, not only will you not feel pain, but you're not going to feel joy at some point. At the very beginning, no one ever thinks they're going to be an addict. At the very beginning of drug use or alcohol use, that's not true. Yeah. But it eventually becomes true.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah. It numbs everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not right at the beginning, or like not a social drinker, like not like a having a glass of wine person. I'm talking about the person who likes to get hammered. Oblivious to what's going on. That was me. So I'm talking about that person.
Yeah.
Not the glass of wine. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with drinking. I have a problem with drunkenness.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So.
Well, and that's what the scripture bears out too.
Sure.
But I want to acknowledge something that you said when you said you had your grandbaby and it was really hard because your mom will never know this. You'll never get to the joy of watching your mom be a great grandma.
Right.
I mean, that's huge. I did the same, really similar thing. My dad died just shortly before I had my youngest. And that really hit me. Mm-hmm. It was really hard. The whole pregnancy, I was like, my dad's never going to know him. He's never going to know his grandpa.
And you know what's hard about that? What you went through and what I went through kind of in similar ways is it's also like one of the happiest times. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you have a new baby or you have a new grandbaby. And it was like one of the most exciting times. And so it shocked me when it was all of a sudden twisted up with those feelings, which I consider negative.
Yeah.
And I got really, really emotional. Like really, you would have thought I was the one that just had the baby and that my hormones were balancing back out. Yes. Cause I was crying and sobbing. Like someone would be like, "Oh, I heard your daughter had her baby. I heard your grandma." And I would just start weeping. And they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "My mom died." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, but my mom didn't die. Like, so my grandbaby was born. No, my mom hadn't even died yet. My daughter had her baby at the end of November, and my mom didn't die until the end of January. But my mom couldn't travel anymore, and she was really sick, and she couldn't talk, and so like
she was gone, basically.
In a lot of ways, it felt like she was gone.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't able to call her, and I wasn't able to like I didn't have it wasn't a shared experience.
Yeah, and that's probably even a little bit harder.
Yeah.
If she had been physically dead, it wouldn't have crossed your mind to call her because you can't call dead people, Yeah.
The year leading up to my mom's passing was actually worse for me than the year after my mom's passing.
Yeah.
Because it was just so hard to watch and see my dad go through all of that. And it was just a really, really hard time.
Yeah.
So it was like a hard time mixed with a happy time. So I think sometimes God is just so gracious about giving us new birth in the midst of pain. Like these babies always bring so much joy, even though it's mixed with grief.
Yeah.
Because someone's missing it,
Yeah.
So we should say goodbye for now.
Feel the feelings, right?
Try.
Process the feelings.
And if they're really too much, just organize the kitchen and ignore them for a minute. Because sometimes they're just too much, Lois. Sometimes they're just too intense. And there's some of us that cannot. It's okay to like, if you're feeling like it's too hard, find a distraction. I mean, you have to. It's survival out there. Life's hard.
And remember that God is close in your feelings.
Yeah, tell yourself that because you don't always feel it, but your feelings are liars.
Yeah, they are.
So they're indicating something going on, but sometimes the enemy likes to whisper garbage into that, and it's not true. God will never leave us. He will never forsake us. He draws close to the brokenhearted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have ideas about feelings or if you would like to get a hold of us, give us your feedback. You can reach us at whosegirlareyou@gmail.com. And that is WHOSE, whosegirlareyou@gmail.com.
All right. Hey, thanks for talking.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.